Okay, recording. Listen, there's two parts to this video, and the first part goes back into what I was saying in my other video about the way he was listening to rap music when he was a teenager. Well, this is the thing. A lot of it's generational. It wasn't just him. At least he wasn't engaging in the lifestyle. I'll give you another example as part of this video. His father was his father came from a religious household and was listening to AC/DC's Highway to Hell. Can you imagine his mother at the church ceremony knowing that her son ended up on drugs and is listening to AC/DC's Highway to Hell? I mean, and that was back in the 80s. And it was a generation of music that was coming out at the time. Before that, I don't know exactly what year, it was the hippie movement. And right now, with the legalization of cannabis, we're looking at like a 2023 version of the hippie generation with the legalization of cannabis. The food industries are booming right now. But that's what I was saying. When I was saying I was listening to rap music when I was a teenager, you know, so were a million other people, and it was just a generation. It was the rap and hip hop radio stations in the area. It was just a generation that we were in. But then the other thing is that when he was a teenager, he was throwing a party in the house by himself. When nobody was home, he was running out of his room and sliding down the hallway in his socks, dancing around the house with the music turned up, and then when someone pulled up the driveway, he shut all the music off and was recluse back in his bedroom like he wasn't just throwing a party by himself. And another example, with opportunities to meet women, girls in the neighborhood when he was younger, when he was like 13 and 14 years old, he was dancing on his bed one day with the shades open at nighttime with the light on so anybody outside looking up could see in the window. And two of the girls in the neighborhood were looking up at him, watching him dance on the top of his bed in his room. And I think I closed the windows or something, but looking back on it, reflecting back in hindsight, I mean, one of those girls he had a crush on, and he liked the other one too. I was like, that was an opportunity. And you don't reflect on these things until you're older and you look back on your life. But he could have came over to the window, which was open, and he yelled out the window and said, "Hold on, I'll be down in a second." And went and met them outside and used it as an icebreaker and walked to school with them the next day and been friends with them. It would have evolved into a friendship, potential hookups and relationships and stuff like that. He could have ended up losing his virginity at a younger age and hooking up with some of these girls in the neighborhood that he was shying away from at that age. And another example was one of my sister's friends came over and knocked on the door to ask if my sister was home. Looking back on that, I would have said, no, she's not home, but I'll come outside and hang out with you for a little bit if you want. And that would have sparked the friendship right there. And I knew this girl because she attended my grandmother's daycare center that we were enrolled in at that when we were younger. She attended the same daycare center, and she lived in the neighborhood in the development next door. And you could have used that as and her mother, I think, was from Italy. So I mean, her mother wouldn't have minded if we became friends, and even if we started hooking up as teenagers, because Genevieve's got a bunch of money. She's running a business. What do they care for? You know what I mean? If anybody ended up getting pregnant, their family's got a bunch of money. Hold on a second. Hello? Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Yeah. So that was another example of what I was saying. There was opportunities when he was younger to lose his virginity and potentially make friends and hook up with the girls that was in his neighborhood. He was shying away from the situation, just like at his father's house when he was throwing a party by himself when nobody was home, singing and dancing around the house. And then when somebody pulled up the driveway, he would be recluse back in his bedroom. Hold on. Recluse back in his bedroom like he wasn't just having a party by himself in the house. And but the other thing I wanted to say was the generational thing with the music. A lot of it is what type of entertainment Hollywood's coming out with. Like my father, I said, he grew up in a religious household and ended up on drugs and was listening to AC/DC's Highway to Hell. In my generation, there was rap and hip hop on all the radio stations. So, and then back to the meditation thing and the holistic healing in Montgomery County, the way the authorities are sending everybody to rise above for evaluation and putting everybody in psychiatric treatment is like a psychiatric holocaust. It really is. And that Norristown State Hospital is like a psychiatric concentration camp. It really is. There's no form of holistic remedies or intuitive or insightful meditation therapy in Montgomery County because it's not recognized by the authorities. All they want to do is put everybody on psychiatric medication. And I don't know if this is practiced out west, out in California, if they have better therapeutic approaches in their facilities. And the philosophy of Eastern medicine and Western medicine and merging the two together, like I read about in the book Yin Yang Yu. But that's all I really wanted to say in this video. It was an insightful video about things that I meditated on back when I was younger, like opportunities that I had to meet girls in my neighborhood, which I didn't take the opportunities until I got older and I looked back on the opportunities that I had. And I could have ended up having kids by the time I was 18 years old. If you would have went forward and initiated some of those opportunities to engage in friendships with those girls in your neighborhoods, you were teenagers. You guys would have ended up hooking up and stuff like that. And I guarantee you, he would have had a child by the time he was 18 years old, and he would have been a father. So that's just insight that I have about my life that I look back on through meditation. And the electric RC car that I had, I always wanted a nitro one. You think all these years later he would have bought a nitro RC car by now. He's 34 years old. He had an electric Rustler by Traxxas when he was 14 or 15, and he to this day, 15 years later, he still never went out and bought a nitro one. It's on my list. If you remember that list I had in my other video, I want the nitro Rustler and I want the Revo, the monster truck. So, and the dirt bike, he had a CR80. His grandmother had more money than most people in the area because he had a couple businesses going. She could have pitched in and bought the grandkid a dirt bike. She could have bought me a brand new dirt bike. It's not like she didn't have the money, just like I had to drop out of karate class because they left my mother fend for herself and she kind of raised us on survival. And so, you know, Jenny could have pitched in for the kids' dirt bike. Instead of getting them a used dirt bike for $1,000 out of the penny pincher, I mean, a CR80 was okay, it was cool as a dirt bike, but I mean, you could have done a lot better. Everybody else in the neighborhood was getting 4-wheelers, 3-wheelers. Somebody over in the neighborhood next door had a KX100, you know, and these hobbies would have continued as he had gotten older if his life didn't encounter these dilemmas that he's mentioned in the videos. His nitro RC car hobby would have continued into his adulthood. He would have been in his 20s, attending the reptile show. He would have acquired more boa constrictors. He would have started breeding. He would have been a known member at the reptile show, selling boa constrictors and scorpions. And his nitro RC car hobby would have continued into his adulthood, just like his dirt bike hobby. He always wanted a KX125 or a KX100 or a YZ125. Now, after he looked, he wants a KTM 150 designed by Pro Circuit. So, and I already priced it. It's $10,000 at the KTM website. So, he has these goals in mind, and it's never too late to reconnect to your teenage years and pick up on the hobbies that you left off, that you missed out on because you ran into trouble in your lifetime and had some issues going on. It's never too late to meditate and gather these things that you were doing when you were younger and reconnect with them. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.